Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another customer voice session, and this time for the financial services organizations. So, first up, again, if you are just joining us, I'm Dhananjay Bapat from the product marketing team at SnapLogic. And in this session, you'll first hear from Tommy Haywood from Secure Trust Bank. So, he's head of technology and delivery. And then after that, David Patterson from Hampshire Trust Bank. He's going to uh, join us for a virtual fireside chat. So after you, Tommy.
Hi there, thanks for the intro. Yeah, so my name's Tommy Haywood and I work for Secure Trust Bank based in the UK in Solihull. As the intro just said there, I head up the technology aspect of the vehicle finance part of the bank, so delivering consumer vehicle finance. So if I give you a little bit of an intro to us as a company, so we're headquartered in Solihull in the United Kingdom, although we do have offices throughout the United Kingdom, some in London, Birmingham, Cardiff, and Manchester for the various parts of our business. So we specialise in retail banking and vehicle finance. We have around 500 employees. So our products and services, so we have Secure Trust Bank Personal Savings. So we're a self-funded organisation. So we offer deposit accounts to consumers to raise our capital, and we then lend that money out. So we've got Secure Trust Bank Commercial Finance, so asset-based lending. The part where I come in is V12 Vehicle Finance, which is a relatively new brand to the marketplace. V12 Retail Finance is a brand some of you in the UK may have come across. So it's the largest retail finance company in the UK now. Actually did very well last year because certain parts of retail have done very well in terms of bikes and things like that. So if you see finance offered on bikes when you go to purchase those, then it's likely that the finance company behind it is actually Secure Trust Bank through V12 Retail Finance. And lastly, we do Secure Trust Bank real estate finance as well, so commercial based real estate finance. So it's a bit of an overview of Secure Trust Bank and V12 Vehicle Finance. So in terms of our organisational goals, when we were looking at acquiring SnapLogic as a technological solution, so I'm coming at this from the vehicle finance aspect of the organisation. We had ambitious growth plans, so we were looking to increase our sort of market share fivefold. So we've already been in the marketplace for a number of years now, specialising in near prime consumer based vehicle finance. So when you go into go onto a forecourt and you purchase a car, we were offering the finance to the consumers there for kind of also known as second string lending. So for customers who are declined by the mainstream lenders. But we were looking to move into the prime space and also move into what's called stocking based finance. So also providing the lending for the vehicles on the forecourt to the lenders as well. So in order to do that, we needed to completely overhaul our IT systems, completely overhaul our lending platforms to prepare us to kind of get to those goals. And to achieve the levels of automation that we needed to, we were looking at an integration platform to tie all those platforms together. So the key challenges for us really was that we don't have development teams. We lack the kind of skilled resource there to do our own development in-house. We find that our kind of integrations that we would do through our outsourced system providers would take too long and frankly would be too expensive to handle kind of point-to-point integration wise. And the agility of that and the speed of being able to deliver those was also taking far too long. So in terms of the use cases that we had for SnapLogic as well, as I briefly mentioned there, we were looking to launch new products in the marketplace. So that involved bringing on a new lending platform, which is a multi-million-pound technology upgrade for us. We wanted to do much more of our onboarding of our partners through Salesforce in a highly automated way, and we wanted that integrated seamlessly with our back-end lending platforms. And also there's multiple payment systems as well that go around the lending platform. So in total on that transformation project, I think there was around 50 different suppliers for all the various services that go around the main platform. And the benefits we were looking to get was faster onboarding, a shorter time to market. We wanted to have a huge reduction in manual processes. As I mentioned, one of the products we were looking to go into was used vehicle stocking, which is a low margin product compared to consumer finance, which is relatively high margin. So we needed to reduce the cost there. That was very important. And also looking to enhance our processes as well. So looking to be far more real time and digital and integrated into more and more services to enable us to make better lending decisions much quicker. It's a competitive marketplace, and price isn't the only thing dealers are looking for to get your business. So we wanted to be the first lender to make decisions where multiple lenders were being asked. So that's where enhanced processes come in. Another large part of the transformation program for us as well was replacing our collections platform at the back end, which is a huge project. So we as an organisation believe in doing all of our collections in-house because we feel you get the best customer service because we know the customers best. So that involves anything from one down right up to repossession and auction. And that integration, that platform needs to integrate to both the legacy platform and the new lending platform. In total, there'll be 3 platforms it integrates with. It's very batch orientated, and the integrations are quite large and complex. And rather than pay the individual suppliers to do that work for us, we're utilising SnapLogic to do that in a reusable and agile way. The benefits there listed, I think probably in the region of 100 to 150,000 per integration we would save, and that's only on the initial implementation. It doesn't go into the fact that every time you need to change that integration in the future, if you just want to add a field or change a calculation, we can do that very, very quickly within SnapLogic. So in terms of the advantages of SnapLogic to us as an organisation, so what we were looking for was a solution that was low code or no code and easy to use. As I mentioned, we don't have development teams. We have a team of skilled IT analysts, but they're not developers. We do have a team of SQL developers, and the plan for us, and this is how we're supporting the platform, was to enable those teams to be able to utilize SnapLogic. We have essentially just recruited one integration specialist to look after the platform full time, and then we deliver those integrations through existing resources. So as I say, it was very important that it was easy to pick up and easy to run with. We were looking for out-the-box connectivity to support that, mainly Salesforce and SQL and web services. It was a goal for us to be able to have reusable assets. So we utilize services in multiple of our platforms. So we've designed and built SnapLogic in a way that with reusable pipelines that we can plug into different parts of the processes. So it was very important that we could enable that. I've mentioned a little bit about the IT team there already. So it was we needed a short learning curve for our existing IT team. And last but not least was the speed to onboarding this solution for us. So we needed something that was very easy to set up, that didn't need client installs, that could just be accessed from anywhere in the cloud. And essentially, we could from the moment of getting the keys to SnapLogic, we could actually have pipelines up and running in literally hours, probably less than that, in fact. It was also very important that we had onboarding support to enable us through professional services to deliver our initial use cases, again, given that we don't have specialized IT teams for that. So in terms of the results, probably average saving around 150k per project. That's not going into the individual use cases that we've delivered, of which there are many. At the moment, we're processing around 27 million documents per month, and that is growing all the time. And 2 FTE is probably slightly over-egging it. We're probably more like one and a half full-time equivalents actually looking after the platform all of the time. So we've managed to deliver an extraordinary amount of value with very little full-time equivalent looking after the platform. So the summary and key takeaways for us at Secure Trust Bank. So if I was kind of to give one piece of advice to anyone who isn't currently a SnapLogic customer that's looking to become one, is to plan for success. So if you don't already have an integration platform, it's almost difficult to know where to start. It's extremely important to plan your use cases, to plan your business cases, to sell that to your senior stakeholders, and focus on delivering those quickly, because otherwise it can be easy to lose focus. That would be my one key takeaway, and that's it from me. So I guess it's over to questions.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you very much. I think it was really it was a great presentation, and I think it also was also a great example of doing more with less. Like essentially just having you're just onboarding the second integration developer essentially, and so a great example of doing more with very minimal resources. So with that, I'm going to welcome David Patterson, who is head of solutions and delivery at Hampshire Trust Bank.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Enterprise Integration Summit. We are so happy that you're here.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So we heard from Tommy. He talked about his experience with using the SnapLogic platform. Can you give us a brief overview of the Hampshire Trust Bank and what you and what does your team do?
Sure. So it actually sounds very familiar. Team-wise, we're just 4 developers, and they're all multi-role. We don't have an FTE equivalent dedicated exclusively to SnapLogic, which is a nice position for us actually. HTB was a very early adopter of the low-code, no-code methodology. And we found that to be very effective for us over the years. And SnapLogic fits in there really well for us. In fact, it's one of the first things that really attracted to us to SnapLogic as a platform. We're not, as I said, large enough to create dedicated integration roles, and what we found is those low-code developer skill sets overlap really very nicely with SnapLogic, and as a result, developers pick it up very quickly. And then as a result from that, we get much the same broad benefits from SnapLogic that we do at low code, which is a very fast, confident development cycles with the complexities and opportunities to trip ourselves up abstracted away from us. It's that kind of operational agility we find that allows us to get an edge over the larger incumbent banks, and is now frankly fundamental to powering us through our next round of phase of growth as a business.
Okay, awesome. That's great. So Tommy, I think second question again. I'm gonna stay with you, David. Can you talk a little bit about, or just expand on the key set of use cases for which the Hampshire Trust Bank uses SnapLogic?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. So and also maybe expand on like some of the goals and the challenges that you wanted to solve with the SnapLogic platform.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's 2 key use cases, and they are all about solving challenges really.
Right.
I mean, the first is the creation and later kind of exposing of APIs from legacy systems. This will underpin a lot of what we'll talk about in our second use case really. But what we're seeing is we're using SnapLogic as a very modern integration system to kind of extend or handle end of life or legacy systems that allows HTB to create the streamlined business processes and the progress HTB needs, whilst the applications of the world catch up around it.
Right.
HTB tends to be really very, once it chooses a direction, it's really very fast moving, and it's SnapLogic that allows us to facilitate that direction for the bank. All that said, even with the more modern systems, we still like to place SnapLogic between their point-to-point integrations and kind of intercept those API relays, so we can monitor, adjust, extend, do what the bank requires of those integrations, without necessarily having to go back to the source systems. And what we tend to find there is the SnapLogic Ultra pipelines are the way of getting in between those integrations without adding unnecessary latency to them. The second case is perhaps more classic one, the integration of disparate systems. HTB has established long ago a clear strategy of really taking best of breed application almost without compromise. So HTB will aggressively search for the right tool for a business line or given opportunity, rather than stretching an existing application perhaps that may fall short or be otherwise inadequate. Of course, that brings to us a fairly pressing challenge of systems that, once that direction and application is chosen, need very, very quick integration, rapid integration. And SnapLogic is our tool for achieving those goals. Doesn't really matter. We've used it across the board, be it core banking, front office, back office, even payments. SnapLogic has been the solution to those challenges, pleasant challenges, but challenges.
Got it. So I think I think those. I just want to dwell on the two key points here. So one, you mentioned HTB is very, very fast moving. So can you give us an example of like how fast you move so that we can be ahead of the traditional, the larger banks? And maybe the second question is maybe related. Does picking the best of breed applications help you in that regard? Because that is also again related to integration. As you adopt more applications, you need to have a even robust integration solution.
Sure. So best of breed examples that there's maybe worth talking about more later as well, which is, we chose to replace one of our business lines complete core banking component, which was previously integrated natively with the rest of our core banking. That was only a few months of decision making, followed by literally 3 months of implementation. We couldn't have made that rapid a commitment to that without using SnapLogic to achieve that integration. It is a core fundamental to that. And I think you said, asked the question, how does SnapLogic fit into that best of breed decision making? Was that the question?
Right. Yeah. So I think how does that enable you to be agile? So picking the best of breed applications, is that related to agility?
Absolutely. There's no way we'd achieve that rate of integration, particularly with the number of staff we've got. Given the number of places a bank like HTB operates, the number of best of breed applications we can choose between, there's just no way to get that level of integration, either without massive dedicated cost or a much larger integration team, if we weren't using a platform like SnapLogic, where we can take our existing skill sets and very quickly build pipelines that achieve those integrations. Particularly as we can, once we've done, say, 2 or 3 characteristic implications, we always make sure we build reproducible components as child pipelines. So every subsequent iteration of related integration becomes that bit faster than the previous one. And again, that's just smart use of SnapLogic to achieve that.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Tommy, so you talked about two use cases in your presentation. One was the replacement or new lending platform, and then recently you embarked on the new collections platform. So who are those different customers within your organizations that you serve? And then and you mentioned, I think, 50 plus suppliers that you integrated. Can you give us some examples of which SaaS or on-premises based systems did you connect?
Thank you. It was going to happen at some point. Sorry, the first question was who are the customers we serve? Was that right?
Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, in terms of, it's actually a very similar customer base for both of those use cases. It's the end consumer, the owner of the vehicle that we're funding is the customer. In the in the first transformation project, it's through onboarding that customer to become one of our customers and serving them through the normal payment cycle. The collections is obviously when things don't necessarily go to plan and payments are missed, or we need to repossess the vehicle and settle off the loan. So those are the customers we're talking about there. And in terms of how SnapLogic is used there, we use it for both onboarding dealerships as partners. We use it for payment processing. We use it for all of the services that go around the vehicle and registering that asset with the various services that we need to register it with. It could be anything from our dialer for our contact strategy. Could be anything from payment files coming in from card payment providers, from BACS, which is the UK processing payment processing standard, direct debits. It's we use SnapLogic for pretty much all of those. And I kind of echoing a point that David made earlier. We very much use it as a problem-solving platform. Right. So we wouldn't necessarily put SnapLogic in the middle of a process unless it's absolutely required. But usually where we've got, we find that very few platforms are actually compatible with themselves off the shelf, despite this industry being relatively standardized. There are standards within those standards that not necessarily speaking the same language, and clearly we've got some suppliers who are have moved to that more real-time web service based approach, and some that are still very much stuck with CSVs on SFTP sites. So we use SnapLogic to do that translation and try and move as much as possible to real time. And we might have multiple suppliers who provide a similar service. For example, one of the suppliers I mentioned as part of that 50 was we work with audit providers that go out to car dealerships and do audits for us, because we need to check that the assets that we own as a bank are still sat on the forecourt and they haven't been sold yet, considering they've still finance on them. We have two different suppliers that do that, one digital one and one that actually shows up and actually checks. And one of those suppliers can do it via web services, the other does it via batch. But actually we've got a single entry point into the lending platform. So we can use one pipeline to do both. And for the one that's batch, it looks real time. It's not, because it's coming via batch, but it's and that's a very common type of use case that we're doing there. Same on the collections platform. We've got kind of multiple entry points going to a single feed with different technology points doing that, and we use SnapLogic to do that translation. There was a second question there, but I've forgotten what it was.
No, I think you kind of covered it. Maybe I'll just elaborate. So I know you mentioned Salesforce as one of the SaaS endpoints, and I think many of the apps you talked about look like they are like custom apps. Like, are there any other SaaS endpoints that you use across these two main projects?
Salesforce is the key one. No, probably, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other SaaS platforms. They are mainly custom. What I would say are custom platforms. They are relatively widely used out there. Power BI might be another example of something that's common that we use internally, but not with external customers.
Got it. Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point, where especially when you're working with external partners, everyone is sending data in different formats, and you kind of have to take account of that. So like the batch and the real time. So yeah, and doing that all in a single platform is definitely very, 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 very useful.
I just wanted to second that, to Tommy's point of mixing CSVs with more modern integrations. I mean, I do that in one pipeline in SnapLogic. We've got a payments project on right now, quite a big payments one. payment screening, very modern. That's all REST APIs and webhooks to get that in a real-time feed. But still, once we finish that, we've still then got to bunch it up into documents and SFTP that are off to the banking network because some things just seem to never change. But being able to handle both those two worlds, 2 decades apart in SnapLogic in effectively one pipeline is very, very attractive for us.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So, so I think the next question is for you, David. So being a bank, when I think of a bank, I think of uptime. I think of quick response time because I want to know where my money is. I want to know that it is secure, it's available all the time. And so, what kind of SLA do you have to provide to the business, and how does SnapLogic help you in delivering that?
Your position on your expectations from a bank are 100%, and I would agree. It doesn't matter what SLA we negotiate with the business; their actual real expectations are 100%. My customers, doubtlessly, is the same. I'd say there's two main components of SnapLogic that enable us to really achieve that. The first is probably the hybrid cloud model. HDB's run a hybrid cloud model for some years now, and the SnapLogic deployment approach, that mix of Cloudplex and Groundplex, really works in that scenario. The Cloudplexes don't just let us kind of outsource the headache of maintaining and operating a big component of SnapLogic. It also lets us reduce the number of moving parts in any cloud-to-cloud integration. It doesn't matter what the HDB network's doing or our data centers. We go almost point to point as a result using the Cloudplex. And as we continue to expand our hybrid cloud strategy, we are constantly seeing that being the foremost integration we're doing now, cloud to cloud. Being able to take our own estate out of the mix is a great way of improving resilience there by reducing those moving parts. As a sort of an aside, I'd say having the control plane in the cloud as well gives our developers and integrators the confidence of being able to schedule and design and build pipelines and execute them without having to worry about the complexities behind the scenes and what HDB infrastructure might be doing at any given moment as well. And that is really useful. Of course, there are still plenty of integrations that are behind the firewall or across the firewall from cloud to on-prem, and that's where we find the Groundplex. And the second part of SnapLogic really useful, which is that clustering technology that we've built on-prem. If anything, what we've probably learned is actually that is much more resilient and much simpler, I think, than we thought it was going into it. So we are now in the process of simplifying and reducing the complexity of our Groundplex clustering, because we've learned we've possibly over-engineered it, and we're going to get greater resilience out of that by simplifying instead. I can't go into too much detail on what the transactions are we move across SnapLogic on a given day, but I can say that HDB trusts a SnapLogic pipeline to move some of our very most sensitive and important data.
Got it. And I think earlier you mentioned ultra pipelines, which kind of provides you with that resiliency at the same time, the faster, like almost real time thing. So
that's a really good point. I mean, we look at ultra pipelines. The mind goes to ultra for the performance, really, to get those kind of seconds down to milliseconds, and they're really important in those kind of user-facing ones. We've got a human waiting for an operation to complete rather than machine to machine. But actually, yes, that is an important design concern. Being able to totally have an independent pipeline that can be divorced from its control plane and carry an operation is quite important. It's easy to forget that's a design consideration we can benefit from.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Similar question for you, Tommy. Considering that you are a very small team, how do you meet your business's needs around SLA?
Yeah, so I mean, SnapLogic's been extremely useful for us in that sense, in some of the things that David was mentioning there. Really, the fact that the control plane is sat within the cloud has meant that we don't really have to consider our own infrastructure when it comes to scheduling and executing pipelines. Wherever possible, we're running a hybrid model as well. And wherever possible, we will execute on the Cloudplex, because we know that actually we then don't have to consider our own infrastructure. And we've seen. I know that it's not 100% uptime, but we've seen, since we've gone live, no pipelines at all fail due to downtime within SnapLogic. So clearly, it's a success story for us in that sense. It just means that we're confident in being able to meet our business SLAs, and that confidence has shown when we've gone ahead with the strategy to use SnapLogic to perform our end of day processes for the new collections platform, which is they're extremely crucial processes for us. So when we did the initial transformation program, most of the pipelines that we've done, they're kind of these ancillary processes that sit around the peripherals of the main platform. And if things are delayed, it wouldn't necessarily be a problem. If it was delayed by a few hours, we could come in and we could fix it within SLA. But the kind of projects we're working on now, if we have failures, then it will cost hundreds of thousands of pounds, because we'll lose X number of hours of collecting if our collections processes don't work and we can't dial customers and we can't collect that cash. So the experience we've had with over the last year in terms of the uptime and the speed and the reliability of SnapLogic has given us the confidence to go forward and utilize it for much more business critical processes to us.
Got it. Awesome. So the next question I want to ask, I think both of you, because both of you mentioned this, especially around the reuse of integration resources. So maybe Tommy, I can maybe start with you. You talked about reuse. So whether it is using parts of the pipeline across, or sections of pipeline across multiple pipelines, or even templatizing pipelines, right? So what advantages have you seen from that approach?
Okay. Yeah, it's helped us sort of from a development perspective, and it's helped us standardize the way we're doing things across different business units. So if I give you one real example, so being a regulated organization, we have to screen our customers both at onboarding and in life against PEPs and what we call PEPs and sanctions, so politically exposed persons and sanctions lists, money laundering, etc. And we have a third-party system that enables us to do that, and they accept the files in a particular way to a particular site, in a particular encryption method, rather than for each business unit, of which we're doing it for 5 or 6 different business units, and we're doing it for multiple parts of each of those business units, rather than rebuild those, the creation of the file, the encryption of the file, and the sending of the file. You just build one child pipeline that takes those parameters in and performs that task for you, and then you just have to worry about the extraction on the left and plug in the send on the right. And it's a really basic example, right? But it just means that's now standardized, and we can actually more confidently give that to other teams to do. There are lots of other examples there.
Got it. Next question, I think again for you, Tommy. So what are the most compelling features of the SnapLogic platform?
The most compelling feature for me, probably certainly at the outset, was just the ease of use and the speed to market, and how little setup was involved. Actually, still kind of the biggest headache we have with SnapLogic isn't SnapLogic. It's enabling and opening up the systems that it needs to speak to, because we still have we're still connecting to systems that sit behind firewalls and are highly secured. So that's the difficult part, not getting up and running with SnapLogic.
So David, I have so a question for you is, okay, can you share some of the quantifiable benefits that you have seen with this SnapLogic platform? I know people really like numbers. They can relate with that, and I'm sure as part of the process of convincing someone to use a new platform, you also have to look at, maybe estimate, right? How much benefit are you going to get from using a new tool? So
Sure.
have you been able to see some of those things?
Yeah.
Can you share that?
But first, I'll start by echoing and agreeing Tommy's points. We also use SnapLogic to do screenings in much the same way. And we also build very reusable pipelines in exactly the same way, even down to a more basic lower level. Every pipelines fail, usually to things outside their control. Reporting, alerting, firing off pager duty, whatever, all of those repeatable alerting pipelines we fire off regardless of what's gone wrong. We have pipelines that do resilient file writes, looking for available servers to get files out of pipelines, reuse the same components across all those pipelines. So all of that is very familiar. And the point in the firewall one is so true. It can take us longer sometimes to get the firewall change approved and committed than it does to write the pipeline that wants to go behind it. It is that level of agility. So the question, sorry, as I ramble off on the previous question, was I think about the some quantifiable benefits and how long it takes to get someone into the platform. I hinted at earlier. We totally replaced a banking platform in 3 months from contract to go live, which by itself it's just a ridiculous amount of time. We are incredibly proud to achieve that. But when you look at the fact the integration component of it was just less than 4 weeks, and it was over the Christmas break, that kind of ability for the bank to make a decision and commit to it and then execute it is a real enabler for us. And SnapLogic is a key component to doing that. I cannot imagine doing that level of integration in anything else. In just 3.5, 4 weeks, especially given that was about, we started to work on that probably about a month after the contract was signed. So it's a great achievement. In fact, we're so confident in our ability to do that, and having done it once, we are preparing now, I think, to start work probably in about a month or so's time to do it again for another business line. We can't go detail that, we haven't signed everything yet, but that piece of work, we're confident in now, having done it once, and we're going to do it again. As to getting someone new into the platform or a new developer up to speed, it's given that we're bringing in low-code developers from elsewhere in the business, our low-code team into SnapLogic, it's not an exaggeration to say we can see them in and productive in a matter of days. You can see someone get their head around SnapLogic and a concept of it really on the first day. It does depend on their background and where they've come from, but typically the low-code developers can be quite well versed in modern web technologies, for instance. So you show them the API snap, they're pretty comfortable, almost straight away and functioning and asking questions and using that. If you then ask them to start writing raw SQL or exposed to some insane legacy system, they're going to have more of a challenge and more to get up to speed. But because of that, that huge overlap between the two systems, you get them in experience, understanding, you build confidence by using that overlap, and then with time we grow them in. And we go from there. But the fact you can get someone in and confident and talking in the SnapLogic world within a day or so is just brilliant for us.
That's great. So I know we have just over 1 minute left. So final round of questions. So first one for you, Tommy. Can you and I know you talked about some of the best practices, but can you elaborate on some of the learnings from your SnapLogic experience for someone who is just starting with the SnapLogic platform?
Sure. I mean, at a really basic level, I said that, on my slides, the key learning there was, to plan for success and not to try and bite off more than you can chew. Really plan out what it is you want to deliver, get some real tangible use cases and set out. The second one, we pretty much didn't do any of the training because it's that easy to pick up. I probably shouldn't admit that in front of so many people, but it's that kind of intuitive to get hold of and run with. The one thing I would say is, if it is brand new to you, get your head around the document based approach element, because that took a little bit of getting your head around.
Got it. And David, a similar question for you. What advice will you give someone who is just starting out with SnapLogic? Some of the
just to break the trend, then I'm going to disagree with Tommy. So we found that the training to be really quite useful and it got people into it. But Not a big one to disagree on. I think there's two big things that stick out for us. One, once you've got SnapLogic, your head around it, you've got it as a tool, it very quickly becomes like a big hammer, and every problem you're presented with looks like a nail to be hit. You've got to just take a deep breath and step back and say, okay, is SnapLogic the right tool? It might be the simplest, and it probably is, almost certainly is the simplest way to solve your problem, but you need to think a little bit more strategically. Look, should I be fixing my source system? Do I need to be looking wider, replacing a component here? And then if you make the decision that, you do need to be looking wider and doing a more sensible strategic decision, you're still probably going to find SnapLogic as your tactical tool. It's going to solve your short-term problem, allow you to move the business on whilst you look around and solve the broader issue. And the second one is it's a trap we've found ourselves coming close to falling into, because again, it's so simple to put that work into SnapLogic. You want to decide, well, is this really the right place to start put my business logic, or am I just trying to do point-to-point integration, something more kind of straight through here? Otherwise, you risk kind of putting complexity into a new location that you suddenly become responsible for maintaining. Not to say it's not necessarily the right thing, it often is, but if you do, I think we hinted at the importance of child pipelines and compartmentalizing things earlier. If you do bring that complexity into Snap, take it away, put it in a child pipeline, so your actual integration flow is as clean as possible. When you're coming back to work on it in 6-12 months later, you don't have to touch the complexity unless you deliberately want to go into it by entering that child pipeline. Those are my two big ones there.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's great advice from both of you. We are at time, so I want to say thank you to both Tommy and David. I really appreciate you sharing your experiences. And so next up we have I think two sessions. I think one session is with our partners at Pace Integration, and then another session is with our partners from Coupa. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you in 10 minutes.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.